Hi. Question. How do millions of people strive for sustainability every day? They use mobile market apps, so-called shops in your pockets. In this talk, I would like to give you an overview about what is a mobile market, what is the impact of such a mobile marketplace on environment and economy, and why do mobile market apps need to focus on liquidity, especially the businesses, and what are the 3 essentials you need to establish to achieve this. So first, what's a mobile marketplace? Basically, it's an app where you can list items. For this, you have to take a picture, add a title, a description, and a price to make it available for an audience, for buyers. They can then discover, make offers, you can negotiate a price, you can set a price. Basically, then you have a deal set, and you can chat where to exchange the second-hand good. So every day, millions of people are buying and selling second-hand goods on marketplaces around the world. They do it to find good bargains, or maybe they're trying to find some vintage stuff, or anything they couldn't find anywhere else. But not only those people benefit from this. It also has an impact on the environment, because those second-hand goods are not newly produced. We call this the second-hand effect. So the second-hand effect is based on 2 assumptions. First, when shopping a second-hand item, the user probably won't buy a corresponding new product, and therefore avoids the environmental footprint caused by it. Second, each sold item does not have to be disposed of, and the emission associated to waste management is avoided. Now let's look at an example. Take this sofa. It consists of a variety of materials from many different sources. Just imagine the pollution caused by transport, production, and the disposal of each of these materials. A study by a Norwegian media house recently revealed that just by their 7 biggest marketplaces, which are used by 60 million users, a potential of 16.3 million tons of carbon dioxide has been saved. That is a massive amount, but it's also difficult to grasp. So to make it a little more tangible, this is an equivalent of 1,400 flights around the globe with an Airbus A380, or the production of 66 million sofas. Reusing things is not only great for the planet, it also has a big impact on businesses and the economy on a wider scale. More and more customers are becoming aware of the environment and sustainable brands. A second-hand marketplace needs to implement the right strategy to support this second-hand effect, the strategy of liquidity. So what is liquidity? Liquidity is also based on 2 things, the core functions that we can find in every marketplace. On the one side, there are buyers who are discovering any opportunity to buy products. On the other side, you will find sellers who are in the need to get rid of their stuff. The idea of liquidity in a mobile marketplace is to get both together. Making this connection as easy as possible allows a mobile marketplace to reach one of its main goals, a transaction. The less time buyers and sellers need to establish a transaction, the higher is the chance for it to reoccur. And this is what you call liquidity. Now, what is important for liquidity? What is driving liquidity? First, you need to avoid distraction, especially in the sign-up flow or when it's about to list such a product. Don't distract your users. It has to be simple, it has to be fast. Every deadlock is a chance for buyers and sellers to just drop out of the flow. Second, it's all about building trust. The greatest marketplace has to build trust so that people interacting in a transaction can create this transaction. Because usually people don't know each other. They come together the first time. So showing reviews, showing additional information about users help users to find confidence. It's also important to provide good quality content. There's a high tendency to project the quality of the content of a marketplace back to the marketplace. Once a positive experience has been established, it's highly likely that it positively influences buyers and sellers to boost liquidity further. So it's important to show related content, maybe similar products if one already got sold, things like that. It's also necessary for mobile marketplaces to offer tools and services. People get attracted by innovation, especially in the sector of mobile devices and apps. We can see this. There's a lot of technology invented in this sector. And the fast-moving technology allows us to stimulate buyers and users in a high frequency. Well, every marketplace management clearly aims for liquidity, but this is not implemented from just one day to the other. You need to cover 3 essential requirements. First, you need a scalable team. You also need a scalable process, and this is what is usually known. You also need a scalable infrastructure. If you skip one of these, you will have troubles reaching your important goals. Now let's have a look into each of these scopes and how they are defined. On the team, it's essential to quickly onboard new team members. Meaning, on the second day, those team members already should have an impact on your product. It's also important to do daily stand-ups to align so that everybody's on the same page. Or quarterly feedback sessions, so you can find and react misalignments and wrong expectations. Access to data is very important, so that people can have access to logging data, for example, so that they can see what their feature, what their change to your product actually means in the real world, in a real production environment. Otherwise, they won't ever develop a sense of their impact. Ownership develops not in big teams. You have to have small teams, maximum of 4 people, to develop ownership and to build responsible team members. The next one seems obvious, knowledge sharing, but you need to have a structure to do this. For example, having bi-weekly tech talks in your own company, or you do code quality reviews with senior people. It's also important to minimize structure. Structure is good, structure helps, but it can also block flexibility. So keep it as simple as possible. So now, essentially for process, to have a scalable process is that you have an adjustable workflow. There's so many impacts, so many reasons for change, the market, or changes in the team, or just new priorities. It's important that your workflow is able to adjust to these factors. Also important is to have direct communication. So it doesn't help if teams are very far from each other or don't have any possibility to communicate with each other. We developed cross-team meetings. You can always call for this. You can put 5, 6 people in a meeting, 5 to 10 minutes, and make sure that you're aligned instead of waiting a week for an answer. It's also important to do retrospective meetings so that you can adjust your workflow. You can ask your team members, what should we keep, what should we develop, what should we drop? also make sure that you continuously can develop. So there's many tools you can use. There's also big mistakes you can do. For example, if you have a legacy code base, don't refactor it over months. Just choose the things that really need refactoring and do it. Or even if you have to switch to a new framework, don't do it at once. Pick services per services, pick endpoints by endpoints, do this. In the last years, we never had any downtime that was related to maintenance window. Maintenance windows are not understood by users. They don't need it. There's no reason. There's no way to communicate it nicely, so don't do it. And quick iterations are essential to react on bugs, react on problems that you introduced with new features. Now, the next thing is infrastructure. I've seen teams of 4 people managing more than 600 servers, more than 10 database clusters, and more with simple tools. For them, it was always important to get immediate feedback from these infrastructure components. So it's important to have defined your service objectives. And you always should aim for at least 99.9% success rates in your operation. If you need to use a new tool, you have to define the need. Don't just go for the most popular tool on the market. Clearly define your need, and you will find the solution for this. And also don't think there's one tool that can solve all your problems. Most likely it is 5 or 6 tools that are very specifically great in their regard, and you will find a better performance. So just a few examples that I personally discovered in my career. The first one that I can still relate a lot to my first interview. Back then, the founder told me, "You will lead a team in our company." And I got very excited about this. In fact, there have been 3 other team members at that time. So she couldn't know. There was no team to lead. But her strong belief made me hope for this to happen. And now, when I do onboarding, when I do interviews, I try to transfer that belief to new team members as well. On the process, I will try this out tonight with Node.js. So Nem, my team colleague, said this, and in fact, he refactored our whole media delivery. He made it faster, he made it more stable, and it was already the 4th generation of our media delivery. Or when Mitzi and Victor, my other team members, came back from a conference, they said, "Guys, we need to do it now." They learned something very interesting. They learned something about how to deal with legacy code and how to build the right framework, and we applied it immediately. This helped us to not have the need to stop our development over months. Now, on the tool side, Klaus said we can do this better. So we were using a service that helped us doing CRM operations, sending notifications to users. And it got more and more expensive at the same time as it got less and less flexible. So he built the same thing in a month with a colleague of him. And this was a great success, and we still use it. And also very important is, on the team level, you gain growth through trust. So if you don't trust your team members, they won't grow. You have to give them access. You have to allow them to get more responsibility. And you have to guide them in this journey. Now let me summarize. It is evident that mobile marketplaces will continue to grow with the awareness of customers for sustainability. Both support the second-hand effect, which reduces the pollution of our environment. From a business perspective, the focus on liquidity is a high priority. which can be achieved by the organizational development of your team, your process, and your infrastructure. Thank you.